Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your daily horoscope and energy reading for Friday the 18th. And so I have a really cool energy to talk about that's in combination with another amazing energy. So as you know, on the 17th, we had two major energy shifts. We had Mercury going into retrograde in Libra, and we also had Saturn going in. It moved into Sagittarius. So I want to talk about that because it actually applies to today as well, because the moon moves into Sagittarius, and I kind of did a little snapshot of when the moon goes, it's at that 0.0 degree mark, and we all know I've already given you a little pep talk about 0 degrees. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch the Saturn video, the very first one. Even if it's not in your sign range, it goes over degrees of transits, and it will help you understand what I mean by 0 degrees all the time. And I'm going to do an entire series eventually whenever I have time. So I did a little snapshot, and so let's talk about the energy now. At the time when the moon moves into Sagittarius and Saturn is in Sagittarius, both in 0 degrees, they're both squaring off with Venus in Leo and Neptune in Pisces. And so Neptune in Pisces in retrograde, which means that, yes, Neptune, the planet of making of fantasy, illusion, delusion, is actually in reverse. So it's making us look at things realistic that we gloss over normally. And of course, that has to do with love, the majority of the time. And Venus is in Leo, so it's all heart. So it's heart-based endeavor, it's romantic relationships, and it's creative endeavors, right? Anything that's really heart-based. So it's squaring off with this moon and squaring off with Saturn. So there's a sense right now, because the energy is shifting and it's shifting into 0 degrees, that there is a state of no control. And I think when energy shifts like this, if you're highly intuitive, and you understand when energy levels drop, that there's a desire to have Libran energy come in and save the day, like a balanced energy coming in and elevating our extreme low, right? And I'm happy to say that Libran energy is in today. However, it's being challenged, but I see today's Libran energy still saving us. But I want to say that where it's at, okay, so Mercury is in Libra today, and it's opposing Uranus and Aries. And I think that's the best source of energy to tap into today. So say if something comes up emotionally, and it has to do with how we communicate. And if we find that we're having an imbalance in communication, maybe you're trying to communicate with somebody who is in a reclusive state, a self-protective state, or an ego, Uranus and Aries, ego-oriented state, and you have energies that are here that want to be here. I think the challenge is resisting the combative nature, the combative communication style of some of the people that you're going to be communicating with. So Mercury, when it's in Libra, so Libra is the good energy today, it is going to be squaring off with Pluto. And this has something to do with work. I think work is tremendous here today. So I think you're not feeling valued. I think that you've been working really hard to show people what you're made of. And I think all people see is more areas of improvement. And it's frustrating because where you see a flourishing new beginning and a tremendous amount of progression, others see as areas for improvement, and it's causing you to be self-protective, which is causing you to be, at some point, possibly today, or somebody may be having the same issue, and they may be feeling just very combative in the fact that they want to stand up and reclaim some of their personal power in this situation, and that makes for a very combative conversation. Now, if you're very wise, many of the energies today are combative. But I love, okay, so I do see one quincunx, and this is in emotion. So I really want to talk about how spirit motivates us through emotion. So your emotion is in Sagittarius, and it's an immutable energy. And Libra is in a balanced energy. So this is all about balancing out all of this combative and all of this crazy energy that's floating around the universe. And so spirit may provide you with some emotional momentum if you turn toward God and ask them, or whomever you hold dear, and I'm sorry, I'm God-based though, but whomever you hold dear as a spiritual guide, angels, I don't care if it's aliens, I don't care if it's yourself, I don't care if you're an atheist, as long as you understand there's power to be found when we're in this lower degree mark. And the power that we can tap into is this Libra energy that I see being our savior. So when we see people that are combative, or when they're challenging us and they're not allowing us to feel victorious in some of the strides that we're making. So let's say that some of the changes that I've been doing in YouTube, people aren't liking it. I'm not getting as many likes as I want, or I'm not getting, the amount of followers I want. The way that I would turn this energy around is, as long as I'm being authentic, as long as I'm growing, as long as I can see the outcome, I don't need people, hi sweetie, I don't need people to necessarily back that up. And so I think as long as you're okay with where you're at, then I think that's going to be fine. So some of the dilemmas that I can see is some of you are going to take a hit in your ego, and because you're going to allow your job to define you, or the recognition to define you, or you're going to allow the fact that people aren't validating your form of creative expression to be validated. And look, anytime that you're developing a craft, or you're honing in a craft, or you're finding your career life path destiny, it's a development process, and not everybody is going to be on board with it. I've lost subscribers since I started to balance out my astrology channel with my energetic self. So I think that at times it's very difficult for people to understand that. I have had very combative conversations with people. I've had people tell me that I don't believe in God, or that I don't believe in spirit. I mean, I've had some crazy stuff come, but as long as I'm authentic in where I'm at. So one of the most impressive energies that I see, and it's coming from an unexpected source. So keep your eye on the ball. All I want to say is always be adaptable and keep your eye on the ball. If you're being challenged, and we're in that 0 degree mark of all this Mercury energy, all this Saturn energy in Sagittarius, and we have this Moon in Sagittarius, this is saying be emotionally adaptable. Don't fixate on your goal. That's not to say that you don't need to have the pride to move forward and have momentum on your eventual goal, but that doesn't mean you have to get everybody on board with it. It just means that there are some people that are going to challenge your perspective, and I want to say that I think that's a good idea. I think, okay, so I just saw the other night that really controversial YouTube video. I forget her name. I've never actually seen her before, about how she said really bad things about fat people. And now she has a form of expression that is very blunt and to the point, very Aries and Uranian based, where they just say it like it is and there's just no filter. And that's part of her comedy, and that's part of her niche on YouTube. However, it was so insanely offensive and so not necessarily what she was saying, because she was fat shaming people that already feel shame. So I don't get her perspective on it. It's like, you don't think they don't walk out into the world and compare themselves every day emotionally to people that are skinnier than them? I mean, it is a psychological disease. It's a disease of the mind. It is when they feel, it is a vulnerability. It's a poor coping method. You getting up there because you're thin and judging people because they're not. I'm okay, fine. You don't have their poor coping method, but you have a freaking crappy ass mouth that doesn't have a filter, that thinks that your opinion is better than them because you actually have maybe a better metabolism or maybe a better coping method than they do. It doesn't make you any better. I bet you there's not a person that can pass judgment on others at this point that doesn't have a poor coping method of their own. And I said this. I said it when it first went into the transit, that people were going to be challenged in their coping methods. Her coping method is making fun and reducing people to gain likes and momentum on YouTube and to think it's funny. And a lot of people use humor as a form of saying their opinions, their really negative opinions, because it makes them feel good about where they're at. And it's a really crappy form. It's a poor coping method. You know, being Sagittarian. Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever been around Sagittarius people, but sometimes Sagittarius people can be so outwardly blunt that it's an ugly, very ugly energy because they say what's ever on their mind, and sometimes a filter is necessary because what's on their mind is not necessarily what needs to be said. I have to say that there are lots of times that they're right. They're very highly intelligent, but it's just their delivery that puts people off and they get themselves in trouble with their little tongue. And of course she did. And so I think all this Sagittarian energy, it's like ego versus, it's like maybe your ego needs to stop judging everybody, right? Being so critical in all of this Virgo energy of others. And maybe you just need to solve your own issues and you need to stop focusing on everybody else like Virgo energy can do. They can be so hypercritical of others, especially in these lower degrees of all of this energy, asking us to expand and teaching us what not to do and to do. So it caused her to have a little diarrhea of the mouth. She got some flack. She did get a lot of likes and she did get a lot of views, but at the expense of respect. And to me, I would rather be respected than get a whole bunch of freaking likes on YouTube. I don't really give a rat's butt about getting a like. So, but I do care about the plight of human beings and the fact that some of their coping methods get out of control and, you know, that they're eating themselves to death. I mean, are you kidding me? How could you possibly think that's funny? Like, I mean, I actually don't make jokes at the expense of anybody. I don't think jokes at the expense of anybody's plights is funny. It's not funny to get, you know, as far as in race, gender, sex, poor coping methods. I mean, none of those things are funny to me. They're just not. And that's my personal opinion, but it's just an opinion. And I am just one person out there, and it doesn't mean that she's a terrible person. It just means that I am a person that I thought of this immediately when I thought of all this Uranian and Aries. So this Uranus and Aries ego-based energy, and a lot of times Arian energy, especially when it's in Uranus, they don't have really good filters. And then on top of that, you've got Saturn and all this lower energy in, quit it. Are you kidding me right now? Can I just clean parts of myself in front of everybody? What the? Anyhow, I'm not going to rant on and on about it, but I just think that she could have said it and the point could have been effective, communicating in a different way. So that's all this Libra and Mercury energy opposing Uranus energy. That's not That's not in quincunx. That's just saying, hey, think about what you say before you say it. And even if you have a very strong opinion, and even if you want to make a judgment on somebody, it needs to be balanced, and your communication style needs to be effective for that to be an adequate energy. I mean, I think she's a terrible, okay, so I don't think she's a terrible person, but I think making jokes at the expense of others disgusts me. Just, it's vile to me. And if I was ever around anybody who ever did that, I would never associate with them ever again. Nor would they ever, they would just not get to know me because I don't value those people. But that's just my perspective. I don't think that's funny comedy. But again, I value people's forms of expression, and I really just want people to weigh out, how far are you going to go to get money, or how far are you going to go to get attention, or how far are you going to go to get your ego stroked and get enough likes and get more money from YouTube, or how far are you going to go for that? I'm not going to go for that. I don't care. I don't care if I get 500 views on a video, as long as it's authentic and it comes from my heart and it helps one freaking person get through a negative energy. I don't freaking care, and I think that's sometimes that's just a Libran based energy. That's a Libran based mindset. It's doing the right thing and saying the right thing and taking others into consideration. And that will be the highest form of vibration today. So, energetic buzz for you guys today is adaptability, right? So we have a lot of energy and ego, and it is in a challenging position. And in fact, a lot of this has to do with our filter system, right? Our filter system is a little off. And I know that I have diarrhea of the mouth. I can go to a restaurant, and my kids will laugh about this. I'll go to a restaurant, and if the food is crap and the waitress puts it down before me, I'll be like, what's that? Like, that's not what I ordered. And I don't even mean it. It's because I have an Aries moon, and Sagittarius is in my house of others. And so I don't have a good filter, and my kids are always laughing at me like, Mom, and I'd be like, oh my God, was that offensive? Thank you for telling me. And then I'll apologize. What comes out of my mouth sometimes is not okay. I'm not politically correct all the time. As you know, as you watch my channel, I just say it like it is, and it's offensive. And sometimes I have to evaluate whether or not I'm offensive or not. So I have to be adaptable. I have to be adaptable to the fact that sometimes my mouth, I have diarrhea of the mouth. And sometimes I'm okay with the diarrhea because it's a little bit different, a little bit spicy. But sometimes it's like, zip up your trap, Annette. You're a little Uranian today, a little bit in Aries. You might be opposing ego, and you might have a little too much spice in your meatball. Like, poop happens. Damn it. Thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.